Yeah. We all like to take a bath on a hot day, huh? So, July 7th, 2022. Just doing a quick checkup here on the farm. Really interesting how different methods and applications of foliar feeds and crops in the soil affect the soil profile and the weeds that grow later on. It's affecting the entire ecosystem. Interesting, you can really see a very distinct line between where I had planted and where I didn't. Same with where the tomatoes were here on the trellis system. And then when you go beyond that, I had a mowed strip. And then where all those wild flowers are, I think they're aster flowers, I believe. Those are really tall, by the way. Let's give you a height reference here. They're up to here, shoulder height, so about 5 foot. I'm about 6 foot, just under 6 foot. So, and some are taller than that even, but interesting how dense this grew in and uniform actually. I mean, you would think this was actually planted, but it wasn't. This is just reseeded from last year. And this was cover cropped in fall 2020, left fallow for 2021. I guess the rye that was here flowered out and got huge. And then it was left fallow again this year because I'm still not farming here. And I don't know if I'll be able to return here. I could hope, but I'm not expecting it. Anyway, and so now it's just, taking advantage of all the soil building and foliar feeds I did. Pretty cool to see the ecosystem kind of take over. Even though these aren't a crop that I'm growing, they're still collecting photosynthetic energy and feeding the soil microbes and building the soil. So, it's not a cover crop, but it's not a bad secondary. And I would love to get back here and farm it and see how the soil acts now after being fallow for a couple years and all that. Anyway, there's some rye from that previous cover crop from fall of 2020 that reseeded itself last year in this one block here. And you can see here. And I've kind of been waiting for these to mature. I think they pretty much are. So I'm going to go through and clip the heads, save the seed, give them time to dry, and then probably put them into a planter and germinate them and see if I can start a new seed line out of them, because these were in really good high nutrition soil. They had foliar feeds and drenches and all sorts of microbial action, all kinds of stuff right at planting and right from planting on out into late fall of 2020. So they got a really good start, and they're very healthy, happy plants, the few that are here. So I'm going to harvest those and just mess around with that. It's something I can do in the limited space that I have at the moment. Oh boy. Like all of my seeds that I built, I spent many years breeding, saving, making better. It's slim pickings. But we got a few, and fortunately seed multiplies well. Let's see what we can do. So I guess we'll just show you the other blocks. You can see where the ends of the rows drop off instantaneously and dramatically. You can see where I used to mow down between the tomatoes on the trellis and the flowers there on the left, which was various mixed beds of stuff. And the oregano is still in here, right here. So Still have some oregano plant stock at least. And I guess my mom had a friend that wanted some rhubarb, so they took all the rhubarb, except they missed one. So they have one rhubarb stock to work with. I guess the sunlight angle isn't fantastic here, and I apologize for my rough camera work. Haven't been doing this for a while, you know. I've been off screwing off. Don't worry, I'm done with all that. Back to farming. Alright, so this was the block that I had the corn and squash in. Then this was interplanted with buckwheat in 2020. And then planted with rye and Austrian winter pea as soon as corn harvest was complete. Corn was mowed in. Cover crops are doing pretty well. Had a lot of deer and rabbit pressure chewing on them lately. Every night when I come out here to check on the greenhouse, I see deer eyes all over. I chase them off, but they keep coming back. I mean, can't beat the best grazing grass here this side of the Mississippi. Might not be the best this side of the Mississippi, but they certainly do prefer it. Robins are really in there working the worms. That's a good indicator about how much worm activity we're bringing into that soil. Really nice to see. I mean, how many robins are there? That's like, there's probably 10 robins out there hunting for worms. And I did I just seeded down rye and Austrian winter pea through the whole block, and I scratch tilled it just to drill the Austrian winter pea seed in deep enough, and then foliar drenched it biologically and inoculated it. Enzymes, you know, the works for planting. It came up, it did really well. It was really healthy. It was healthy in spring of 2021 in March when I looked at it. Yes, the first official day of spring, and spring has sprung, and it's great. Just wanted to share a little bit of soil comparison here. This is soil that has not been worked in high nutrition or treated in any special way. Basically it's just grown up to grass and been mowed. If we go over here where I've been working the soil, I think you can see the difference in structure. Let's take another look here. Pretty hard. Pretty soft. Much more crumb structure in it. The green you see popping up here is rye. It was planted as a cover crop last year. It's growing back now. We'll just take a walk around a few different parts of this soil, let you get a look. This is where tomatoes were for a number of years. This is kept in mulch. Just have a look under the mulch. You can see that's some nice soft soil. I'm able to actually dig that with my fingers down a good 3-4 inches. Over here, the top 12 foot of this strip was garlic 1 year. Worked very heavily in nutrition. Also pretty soft. Pretty nice. Good crumb structure. Various stages of this were worked increasingly over the years, so this is better soil up here than is down here. But again, this is cover cropped. This had Austrian winter pea and winter rye in. There are some weeds coming up now, but the winter rye should come back and take that over. The deer have been munching on this all winter. A lot of green coming up though. Soil's pretty soft also. Obviously it's got some sod, so it's a little harder to pull up, but it's doing real well. We'll go down to this plot where I haven't worked it as long. A little less of the sod, a little lighter in color. This is the area that I tried no-till roll down and cover crop with rye and Austrian winter pea. This is also chewed down pretty heavily over the winter, but you can see where I rolled down the weeds here when I planted this. That's still forming a reasonably nice mulch cover on here, keeping the soil protected a little bit. It is letting some light in to warm the soil, so that's nice. That'll get the biology going. And actually, this soil is pretty nice too. A little lighter again, though, as you can see. So that's that block. Let's take a look at the other block over here. Look at the color and the structure and the darkness of green on this soil. I'll let you compare between the grass, the sod here, and the soil I've been working. This upper 20 foot or so was just added a few years ago. The lower 80 foot of this is a 100 foot total length. The lower 80 foot of this was grown for several years more than this upper section was. So let's just look at this upper section. Yeah, it's getting some nice structure too. Also, you can see that it's not quite as dark as some of that longer work stuff up top. This also was covered in Austrian winter pea and rye. Now we're down into the longer work stuff. Yeah, much softer, much darker. And I believe this is camas bulb coming up here. This blooms a beautiful purple flower, although they might be grape hyacinth. Those might be the same. I'm not sure, but I know that these bulbs put up beautiful flowers. These have been in here for forever, and even though I've tilled this and grown this block with so many other things, these have survived all through, and I really like that, how they're not in the way of the growing season, but they survive and they provide spring growth early every year. There's one there, there's one there, there's one there. And of course you can see deer turds all through here. The deer were in here munching heavily over the winter. It always feels like they're taking something from you, but they're putting back all that nutrition. And deer are ruminant animals, so they have a very similar digestive tract biologically to the soil. So when you stack that together, I think the deer provides a plus positive rather than a net negative. Anyway, this soil is doing really well. It's really improved a lot, and I feel very proud to have improved the soil here and to have learned so much about improving soil through a lot of sources and research and reasons, but a huge part of that has been John Kempf of Advancing Eco-Agriculture, and actually the whole team at Advancing Eco-Agriculture. Those guys really know their stuff. They're doing groundbreaking research, they're using groundbreaking tools, both for plant health analysis, using plant sap analysis, and also groundbreaking tools using foliar feeds and other soil amendments, and really understanding plant nutrition from a biological perspective. So many thanks to Advancing Eco-Agriculture. I got some video from that, and then I moved off to British Columbia, which turned out to be a big mistake, but here I am, back in New York, and you know, you can see where I've done soil work, but it's really interesting to see the difference here. This block, 100 by 30, or 100 by 25, I think actually, you know, work like I just explained. To the right of that, where this very clear and obvious line is, was mowed, and then these were other blocks over here from older years that I had let grow out to grass and just mowed occasionally. And actually, in late 2020, I pulled down the tomato infrastructure that is in here, except for the 2 metal posts, which I couldn't get out by hand, and I never got back with a tractor to try and yoke out. And then you can see where the chicken tractor's parked is the last place that I chicken tractored in fall of 2020. This is a mowed strip here, and then that was the old blocks down there. And then this block I had fenced and planted in 2019. That fencing was garbage, so I got rid of it. And anyway, this has been worked with various crops, and at the end I did the same thing with rye. No Austrian winter pea, just rye in here. And it had been chicken tractored, at least this lower section. And I'll just show you. You can see how much denser and darker and thicker the grass is where these, it was like 2 widths of the chicken tractor here, or maybe 3 where we ran. You can see a pretty definitive color line right in here. Taken off. And then above that, not quite as hot, but this area had been worked for a few years in foliar feeds and drenches. I actually had popcorn in here a few years back. And you can see a lot of yarrow is all-seeded in here, which is fine by me. It's awesome. And let's see, I had a couple of rows of raspberries that I had propagated from the other raspberry block up top. And you can see that they're spreading out in here. And there's some ripe raspberries on right now, actually. Fairly small, you know, they haven't been weeded or loved or fed or anything. They're just doing their thing on their own. But they're here. Oh, got some decent sized berries coming on. And then over here is one black raspberry plant right here that is starting to get big. And I wanted to move it somewhere, but I don't know where to move it because I don't have any permanent place to grow it. I don't want to get another huge planter and have to spend $100 in soil to fill it. So right now I'm just letting it grow. I don't know, I guess that's a decent tour of the old farm here. Summer 2022, second year fallow. Also, this area had been chicken tractored heavily below this obvious line where I cut the new roadway to the back. You can see how dense this grass is in here. Super dense, super thick. Lodging a bit in here, but so interesting to look at it, you know, not having been touched, and let Mother Nature show us what exactly is going on there. It's a very clear woodchuck trail here. I know that because he used to try to eat all my plants. Anyway, I guess that's the tour for now. Sorry I got kind of long-winded. Just thought I would share, there goes a rabbit, share the thoughts and results and experience and etc. I don't know, hope this helps somebody with something. If you have questions or comments, please do so down below. Thanks for watching. Pharmacy Seeds Network. Thought I'd get a quick clip of the greenhouse. It's the Thursday night net you hear in the background, the radio in the car. And just happened to peek in here last night, and it's quite the cool jungle. I just thought I would show a quick clip. I missed the greenhouse.